Did Pope Francis lie when he restricted the traditional Latin Mass several years ago with his motu proprio Traditionis Custodes? That's been the big story for the last week or so. The reason it's such a big story is if all the dots are connected, and we're seeing more dots today, I'll explain. Thank you to Diane Montagna and her excellent journalism. The reasons that Pope Francis gave for restricting the traditional Latin Mass, he expressly stated in writing in a papal document. He said that he sent a questionnaire. He's talked to the bishops of the world, and we know that happened. There was a questionnaire sent out, and he said, bishops, tell me, how was the traditional Latin Mass working out in your local diocese? Tell me what you know. I want to do some synodality here. All right, we're going to poll. We're going to find out. And by the way, when you use the word synodality, which I think no one really knows what that means, there's a funny clip. I can't find it. If anyone knows where it's at, of Cardinal Dolan and Bishop Barron talking about synodality early on in the Synod of Synodality Genesis. And they kind of say, well, do you even know what synodality is? And they kind of chuckle and say, no, we don't know what synodality is. But going back to synodality, if it's just the Pope conducting or receiving advice, or bishops in synods and then reporting to the Pope, that's historic. That's traditional. The problem with synodality, and the reason synodality gives people the EBGs, is that it looks like synodality, and this is from their own statements at the Synod of Synodality, we're going to ask non-believers, non-Catholics, Methodists, Buddhists, Jews, what should church be? And the problem with that is you're starting to consult on moral matters and on doctrinal matters with people who are not even Catholic, outside the Catholic Church. But then also, it's not really the traditional approach to also just consult the lay people. You've heard me say it. I'm a dad on a webcam. I'm not part of the magisterium. I don't wear a mitre. I don't wear the pallium. I don't wear the red hat. I don't wear the papal tiara. Wouldn't that be great if we had that back? I'm just a dad on the webcam. I don't expect Rome to call me and say, Taylor Marshall, I'm watching you on the podcast, and we just want to fly you in and do some synodality with you. You know, we want to get your take. We want to consult with you. How can we be church better? We want to hear what this Taylor Marshall says. We want to do synodality. I don't expect them to do that. I don't really want them to do that. Be kind of cool, but that's not really how the Catholic magisterium, as instituted by Jesus Christ, works. But anyway, Pope Francis asked the bishops, doesn't ask the lay people. And Pope Francis says, you know what? I heard, it gave me pause. I was troubled by it. And he says the words, I had to intervene. And his intervention was the motu proprio Traditionis Custodes, Latin for guardians of the tradition. And in that document, he greatly restricted the traditional Latin Mass at the diocesan and parish level. He made it impossible for seminarians to learn the traditional Latin Mass. So when they become priests, they won't be able to say it. Also, diocesan priests had to receive special dispensations, not from their bishop, but from Rome. And what are known as the Ecclesia Dei communities, the traditional Latin Mass communities, like the Fraternity of St. Peter, the Institute of Christ the King, they were allowed to continue in their training and in celebrating the traditional Latin Mass. But, you know, most people, I've been doing this for a while, most people who attended the traditional Latin Mass did not have access to Ecclesia Dei, FSSP, ICK communities. Most people, some people don't know this, but most people who attend and attended before the restriction, the traditional Latin Mass, were doing it at diocesan parishes. For example, in America, there were more diocesan parishes offering the traditional Latin Mass than there are communities or parishes run by the Fraternity of St. Peter or the Institute of Christ the King. So, you know, the experience of people was in the majority in that diocesan parochial setting, and that has really been obliterated. It's been decimated. And Pope Francis issued this restriction, and the reason he gave is, I consulted the bishops, it was negative, it gave me pause, I had to intervene. Well, Diane Montagna, and by the way, you can click the link below to her Substack. I'm a financial supporter now. I signed up for her Substack, and I encourage all of you as well. Sign up for Diane's Substack, and the link is below in the show notes here on YouTube. She produces this document, and this is allegedly the report that synthesizes the questionnaires and the feedback received by the bishops, not just the United States, the whole world, and what they say about their experience as bishops with traditional Latin Mass attending lay people and traditional Latin Mass celebrating priests and clergy. And the report is glowingly positive. I'm not going to go over it again today because I did a whole podcast on it when it came out. This was probably a week and a half ago. So just go to Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast and just look at the live videos there, and you'll see it there. I read through the report as it was produced by Diane Montagna, and it sent shockwaves through the Catholic world. And I saw priests, I saw a Jesuit on X. He's like, oh, some hack, some journalist says she saw a paper and we're supposed to believe that the Pope lied. And I'm like, hold on, Father, Reverend Father. This is Diane Montagna. She's been doing good work. She provides the documents, the screenshots, the dates, the details. It's all there. And then today, Diane announces that she has the protocol number. Now, for most of you, this is not a big deal, but within the Vatican circles, this is extremely important. Every single document in all the congregations and all the dicasteries have protocol numbers. I know this because when I was a brand new convert to the Catholic Church, this was in 2006, I was an Anglican priest in the Episcopal Church, and I renounced that. I abjured my heresy, my schism, and I entered into the Catholic Church. And I had a job in Washington, D.C., and part of my job was to file the requests, the dispensations for other Anglican clergy, like I had been, who are seeking ordination as married men, as former married Anglican priests, in order to be ordained as Catholic priests. And I myself, at the time, was on that track. I've said it before. I was made a lector, acolyte, lay Eucharistic minister. That's right. I'm a lay Eucharistic minister. And a candidate for holy orders by then Bishop Kevin Farrell, who's now Cardinal Farrell. And then our paths crossed again in the future when I received my PhD in philosophy at the University of Dallas. Cardinal Farrell, Bishop Farrell then, was then the bishop of the diocese, and he was the chancellor of the university. So Bishop Farrell also gave me my PhD. My PhD actually has Bishop Farrell signed on there. And I was involved in that office, and I was filing paperwork. One of the files that I worked on was a man named Father Dwight Longenecker. I was part of submitting his paperwork to Rome. It's called a dossier, and you basically present everything about the man and his education and his experience, and then that goes to Rome, and then a dispensation is received back, and then that man can pursue any further studies he needs, and then can be ordained a Catholic priest, even though he's married and has children. That was going on in 2006. I personally discerned out of that process. Obviously, I didn't seek ordination. I did not go on to be a Catholic priest. I'm very happy to be a layman, talking to you on a webcam, writing books, making podcasts, doing videos, etc. But during that time, I was taught about protocol numbers. And everything we did and everything we received had to have that protocol number, and we had to keep track of those protocol numbers. You can think of it as a SKU or a barcode. Everything has the protocol number. Well, Diane Montagna, not only did she produce the document, and then there were people in the Vatican, as we'll see, like, well, I mean, where did Diane Montagna get this document? Is this legit? Was it forged? Did Taylor Marshall write this fake report document? Some people reach out to me and they said, oh, you're the one that got it. I didn't get it. All right. I've never seen it, never touched it, other than what Diane Montagna has shown us. She has produced today the protocol number from the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, now called the Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith. The consultation with the, it says in Latin, bishops concerning the application of the motu proprio Summorum Pontificum, April 2020, And you see at the bottom, February 2021. This matches with our dates, with the timeline of the restriction of the traditional Latin Mass. So this is not the report of the bishops, which is glowingly positive about the traditional Latin Mass. They say attracting young people, it's attracting vocations, the parishes are growing, the people are not schismatic, the people are integrated into the diocese, they have a healthy parish life. The only negative in the report, which is actually a positive, but the only negative that I saw in the report is that the bishop said, unfortunately, many of these young men with strong vocations in the priesthood are not enrolling for seminary formation in our diocese. They're instead going to the Fraternity of St. Peter or Institute of Christ the King. So I understand that. You're a bishop. You're trying to get vocations. You need priests. There's a priest shortage. And there's a dynamic young man who's on fire for Jesus Christ, and he wants to be a priest, but he likes the Latin Mass. And so he's kind of thinking, well, should I join up and enroll in the process with the diocese, or should I apply to the Fraternity of St. Peter? And he applies to the Fraternity of St. Peter, and he gets in, he goes to seminary there, becomes a priest there. The local priest is kind of like, that was one of my guys. I lost him. He can now be reassigned to anywhere in the world for the Fraternity of St. Peter, but if he had been ordained with me, he'd be here. So I understand why a bishop could be a little bit sore about that, and that's mentioned in the report. There's a very easy fix to that, by the way, my friends. It's suggested by Pope Benedict XVI. Allow your local parish priest in the diocese to celebrate the traditional Latin Mass. If they can celebrate the traditional Latin Mass under the guidance of Summorum Pontificum, they don't all have to go to the Fraternity of St. Peter or go to the Institute of Christ the King or go to SSPX. You can keep those vocations. That was a wise thing by Pope Benedict XVI. Pope Francis, by the way, by his actions, has completely obliterated that possibility for young men. Now, all those young men who are tradition adjacent, who want to celebrate the traditional Latin Mass, are like, well, I'm not going to diocese. I'll go to fraternity. I'll go to SSPX. I'll go to ICK. And so Pope Francis has actually made that problem worse, as detailed in the document. In fact, it's made everything worse. In Tyler, Texas, there were 5 diocesan. I believe there's 5 diocesan traditional Latin Masses. All of them were nuked. They're gone. Bishop Strickland was taken out. They're all gone. There's one Fraternity of St. Peter. Everybody's driving 2 hours into the Fraternity of St. Peter. I was there last weekend. Total overflow. Weekend before, overflow. There's just so many people because you've restricted the 5 into 1. It's not fair to people. It's not pastoral. It's not kind. So let's take a look at what Diane has discovered. Her publishing of the protocol number reveals that this is not just a throwaway document. It's not like, some first-year priest working in the Holy See wrote up his own imaginary assessment of the Latin Mass in the world and handed it to Diane Montagna. The protocol number shows that it is what it says it is. There's the protocol number, and it says consultation of the bishops concerning the application of the motu proprio Summorum Pontificum. It's a positive document. It said it's working out great. It's a good situation. And Pope Francis turned to the world and said, I got feedback. It was negative. It was bad. And I had to intervene and I restricted it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we do so, though, I want to honor today's sponsor. And it's an important one. And you've heard me talk about it before. It is your energy. Are you exhausted? Are you struggling? Are you weighed down throughout the day? If so, the culprit may be right under your nose, right down here, your liver. The reality is our livers in the modern world, in the Western world, are under constant attack for processed foods, environmental toxins, GMOs, microplastics, fluoride, and so many things that we don't even know about yet that they're putting in the food and drinks and water, cooking oils. A staggering 100 million Americans are struggling from an overworked liver. That's according to the American Liver Foundation, that 1 in every 3 Americans has an overworked liver. So people watching right now, 1 in 3 of you, very likely, have an overworked liver. And so to reclaim your vitality, I highly recommend giving your liver the support that it desperately needs with the Liver Health Formula from our sponsor today, Pure Health Research. It's a cutting-edge supplement. It combines 11 powerful, clinically proven natural ingredients to detoxify and rejuvenate your liver at the cellular level so that you have more energy and an optimized metabolism, which helps with weight loss. And the company has already helped more than 2 million Americans. So if you're like me, you want health, you want a healthy glow, you want a strong metabolism, you want to feel your best and have vitality, I'd encourage you to check out the Liver Health Formula. Special offer to my audience is 35% off. If you use the discount code Taylor, Taylor, at purehealthresearch.com, make sure you use the discount code Taylor when you check out, and you'll receive a 35% discount at purehealthresearch.com. Discount code Taylor. Take the first step towards better liver health and a more vibrant living today. Check out at purehealthresearch.com. Use the discount code Taylor, or you can click the link in the show notes below and order yours today. Liver Health Formula, promo code Taylor. All right, let's look at Diane Montagna. Again, please sign up for Substack. Follow her on Twitter. She's done tremendous work. If you watched my podcast, the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast, for 10 years, you know that often the breaking stories, the important translations, things that are coming out, she's tipped with a spear. And so you want to be familiar with Diane's work. So please do check it out. I'm going to do a screen share. Let me make sure this is going to work. Let's see here. Boom. Perfect. Okay, so this is Diane's Substack. I want to show it to you. And we're going to go through what's been happening and what she has discovered. Again, if you want to look at this directly yourself, you can go to my show notes below the video and just click the link to Diane Montagna's Substack. Substack's like a blog. It's usually free, but you can also pay monthly to help support them. And by the way, if you want to help support me and get free signed books, you can go to patreon.com/Dr. Taylor Marshall. I'll send you a rosary, send you books, rosary in 50 pages. By the way, if you want to get rosary in 50 pages for free and you don't want to support, you're like, I just want free stuff, Taylor. Go to my website, taylormarshall.com. And at the top of the page, you can get this book for free. It's an ebook, Rosary in 50 pages. It gives you the history of the rosary, the theology of the rosary, and how to pray the rosary in English and Latin. It's 50 pages. It's a very short book. It is the 101 course on the rosary. If you want to get a signed copy of it, you can go support at patreon.com/Dr. Taylor Marshall. If you just want a free book, free ebook, go to my website, taylormarshall.com, and you'll get the book for free. And I'd also encourage you to sign up for my weekly newsletter. I send out comments, thoughts, and also weekly videos. You can get all that for free, 100% free at taylormarshall.com. If you do want to support financially, you go to patreon.com/Dr. Taylor Marshall, and I'll send you a bunch of free stuff. All right, back to Diane. Support her too. All right, this came out today, and she says right here, since publishing the story, I've obtained the Vatican protocol number for the CDF final report. Additionally, I've obtained the introduction to its second part, which confirms the overall assessment constituted the official opinion of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, to which Pope Francis refers to in Traditionis Custodes. So this is apparently the outcome of the questionnaire of Pope Francis, which he said was negative, but it's actually positive. And that's why today's title of today's podcast is, Did Pope Francis Lie? The only way, by the way, to correct this is to say, yeah, that protocol number that says the traditional Latin Mass and Summorum Pontificum are awesome, 5-star review. We love everything about it. That was an early one, and even though we put a protocol number on it and presented it, we actually realized it was wrong for some reason and threw it in the trash. And then we did another questionnaire in the next few days and through all the bishops. And then we heard back, and it was actually opposite. Everything was negative. Everyone is schismatic. The communities are dysfunctional. They're constantly bickering with the bishop, and they hate the church, and they're all just foaming at the mouth, sede vacantis, and the traditional Latin Mass has just been a horrible experiment for Holy Father. And Summorum Pontificum is just a complete blemish on the pontificate of Benedict XVI, and you need to intervene and take care of it. That's how you fix the problem. Otherwise, it just looks like Pope Francis lied. You need to produce whatever Pope Francis says he was looking at when he said, I have to intervene and restrict the traditional Latin Mass because it's bad for the church. Pope Francis says that people were taking advantage of what John Paul II and Pope Ben XVI did in their generosity. And since they were taking advantage of their generosity, he had to intervene and take away the cookies. He said, no more cookies. No more treats, no more ice cream, no more Sundays after church. It's over. We tried to be nice to you kids, gave you the traditional Latin Mass. We allowed the priest to say it, and all of you guys, you just became dirty, rotten schismatics. And so you don't get ice cream anymore. No more candy. You guys are done. We were nice to you. Y'all screwed it up. So I'm taking away what you hold dear. Traditional Latin Mass, you don't get it. Priests want to celebrate. Seminarians want to celebrate traditional. No, we're taking that away too. The only way to fix this is to show the Vatican document with the protocol number on it that says what Francis says, because this one is opposite of what Francis said. Let's go back to Diane. She says, this follows, I'm here now. Can you see that? I think I might be a little bit. Yeah, y'all can see that. Looks good. Looks good. Diane says, this follows Vatican spokesman Matteo Bruni's comment last week in which he downplayed the section of the CDF final report that I published on July 1st. So this has been going on for 9 days, if you're keeping track. He said he would not confirm the section's authenticity, that they presumably were only a very partial and incomplete part of the decision-making process that led to Pope Francis issuing Traditionis Custodes, and that other documents and confidential reports went into the Pope's decision, something that the Vatican has not revealed until now. So Matteo Bruni says, well, that's presumably an impartial, incomplete report, rough draft. And, there's other documents out there and confidential documents. And that's what Pope Francis was going off of. Okay, show us them. Pope Francis is no longer alive. All right, just show them to us. Say, oh, here's the negative report. That was the good report. Here's the negative report. Why did the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith create a report that explicitly states the bishops were overwhelmingly positive? They put a protocol number on it. It's an official document. It represents the questionnaire of Pope Francis. And then y'all are out here telling us, well, that was a incomplete rough draft. There's another version that's bad. Okay, let us see it. It's kind of like when you're playing Texas Hold'em. You hold your two cards, wait for the flop. You bet. At the end, you got to show your cards. What do you got? Diane put her cards down. She says, here's what I got. I said, those are fake cards. And she said, oh, here's protocol number. Oh, snap. Royal flush? Diane Montagna with the royal flush? Diane says, but Bruni's comments raise more questions than they answer. In his accompanying letter, Traditionis Custodes, Pope Francis made it clear that it was the responses to the 2020 CDF survey that persuaded him of the need to intervene, even though, as has now come to light, the CDF's overall assessment concluded, quote, the majority of bishops who responded to the questionnaire stated that making legislative changes to Summorum Pontificum would cause more harm than good, end quote. That's like saying, well, we don't think there's cancer in your body. Overwhelmingly, you're healthy. We're loving it. So we believe that issuing chemotherapy would do more harm than good because we don't have a positive result on the scans on the cancer. And he says, you know what? I think it's bad. Give him chemo. It's like, what? How is that a proper application of medicine? How is that a proper approach to being pastoral? How is that synodal? It looks tyrannical. It looks dishonest. And it's a blemish on the legacy of Pope Francis. Diane Montagna goes on. So, if there were, as Bruni states, additional documents and confidential reports that went into the decision-making process that led to Traditionis Codes, something the Vatican claimed only after the details of the survey results were disclosed on July 1st. Those documents would logically have to prove that the CDF final report inaccurately represented what the majority of responding bishops said, and therefore that Pope Francis had the support of the greater part of the episcopate when he imposed Traditionis Custodes, restrictions on the traditional Roman liturgy. This raises the question, if what Matteo Bruni says is true, why did Pope Francis not refer to those additional documents, given that they presumably gave him the basis for his decision to abrogate Summorum Pontificum? This should be obvious. I smell a rat. If you're going to make the case, that the church is no longer monarchical, top-down, papal supremacy, the Pope, the Protestants and the Eastern Orthodox, they say, your Pope, the way things are set up, he's basically the bishop of every single local diocese. That they claim. It's false, but they claim that. And so you got Pope Francis and Nouvelle Théologie and all these folks saying, oh, no. We're all about collegiality and we'll raise you. We'll see your collegiality. We'll raise you synodality. We're back to poker. All right. I see your collegiality. I raise you to synodality. We're not out here imposing our ideology. We're not out here imposing our Latin American liberation theology, modernist agenda on y'all. We are out here asking questions. We are a listening people. Our hearts are open to the cries of the people. We don't want to impose on bishops. We want bishops, especially the bishops in Germany, those steadfast shepherds and cardinals of the thriving Church of Germany. When you look at all the conferences of bishops on earth and you're like, who are the number one stunners? Who is just racking up conversions, vocations to priesthood, religious life, infant baptisms, conversions? Who out there is at number one? And your mind goes to Germany, the bulwark of Catholicism since the 1960s. Germany is the number one. And so, when we're doing synodality, we want to open our ears, calm our mouth, be quiet. We want to listen to the bishops. And by listening to the bishops, what we mean is we want to listen to the bishops of Germany because they have been so steadfast in their pastoral duties. When you think about which nation has so few sexual scandals in it, obviously you think the German bishops and the German priests are so pure. When you think about who has the most reverent liturgies, who says the Novus Ordo in the most beautiful and uplifting mode, obviously that's the German bishops of the Catholic Church. And so what Pope Francis was showing us is when we do synodality, we sit at the table, we listen to all the bishops, but we especially listen to the German bishops. Because if you want to look at where Catholicism thrives and flourishes and is totally transforming the culture and sending out missionaries to the whole world, that is the work of the German bishops, and they need to be applauded. So whenever we're doing synodality, they always have to have the first seat at the table, German bishops. Then we listen to everyone else. All right. So that's how synodality works. I know a lot of you are confused on it, but that's exactly how the Pope Francis synodality works. Pope Francis studied in Germany. So Pope Francis already had personal experience in Germany with the German faculties, the universities, the other bishops. He already knew as a younger man studying in Germany that the German bishops produce the most saints and have the most evangelical zeal for the gospel of Jesus Christ. The Germans excel in the rosary, Marian devotion. German Catholicism is peak. German Catholicism after 1970 is peak Catholicism. And Pope Francis knew that. So he was listening in this synodal process. He's really got his ear to the, he's like, say it to me in German. Just tell it to me in German. That sweetens it even more. Now, I'm joking. Last time I was talking about the Texan Rite Mass, and I was doing I was doing a riff. I was doing a bit. People thought I was serious. I bet there's people in the comments right now saying, no, Taylor, no. The German bishops are bad. The German bishops are little. They're modern. I know. I'm playing games with you right now. I'm making a rhetorical point that synodality under Pope Francis was not actual synodality. It was listening to liberal, washed up German, French, Spanish, Italian bishops, American, who are washed up. Conversions down, baptisms down, vocations down, marriages down, annulments up. The only thing up is annulments. Annulments are way up. Baptisms, way down. And that's kind of the broken piece of synodality is when you're being synodal, some groups are just more synodal than other groups. If you're James Martin, you get to come in and talk about rainbows with Pope Francis. But if you're Cardinal Zen and you're talking about the persecution, the murder of Chinese Catholic clergy, the persecution of Catholic lay people, you don't get an appointment. So in the world of Pope Francis synodality, some people were more synodal than other people. And I think the way you understand today's news is you say, okay, well, the report, which is a real report by the real Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith with a real protocol number on it, with a real date on it, that actually is, in a way, true synodality. It's a universal questionnaire, comes back, it's positive, it's good. But then Pope Francis says, this is not synodal enough. Get me somebody who speaks German. I want to hear what the Germans say, or wherever. Or, I don't know. If I say countries, you're going to be like, no, we're good. I want to hear what Cardinal Cupich has to say. Let's get a synodal phone call with Cupich. I want to hear what Cardinal Mahoney says about trads. Get him on. Let's get a synodal Zoom call going on with him. Cardinal Gregory. Let's get synodal. Hello, Your Eminence. Yes, we're about to get synodal. Turn on your webcam. Let's talk about trads. Oh, trads. They're so bitter, angry. Really? Have you ever talked? Yeah, there was this one trad once. He came to the office and he yelled at the staff. Oh, my. He yelled at the staff. Yeah, he yelled at staff. This one guy once, a couple years ago. He's crazy. Well, it sounds to me that trads are the problem. And yeah, trads are very angry people. All right, so are you saying we should get rid of the TLM? Yeah, probably. They don't deserve it. Take away that candy. All right. Thank you for the synodal Zoom. Appreciate it. And then someone walks in the room. Your Holiness, Pope Francis, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith has just issued the results from all the questionnaires. It's protocol number 03-2020-ED. And he goes, oh, let me see that. And Pope Francis, he's reading. He's from the page. What is this? It's all good. The bishops like the traditional alignments. That's not what Cardinal Cupich said. Yes, Your Holiness, we consulted all bishops and we waited and we got all the results. We read through them, made a very careful analysis, proper synodal procedures, very synodal. And then we just composed what they said and we created this report, official report, and we want to give it to you. And he's like, well, this is all positive. Well, it's a synodal document, Your Holiness. Give me Cardinal Cupich back on the phone. Give me anybody. Give me somebody who speaks German. That's what I think went down. Like the old saying of the communists. It's Animal Farm, I think. In communism, everyone is equal, but some people are just more equal than others. Right? Communism. Everyone's equal, but some people are more equal than others. In synodality, we want to hear from everyone. Everyone has a place at the table. Buddhists, come to the table. Tell us what you think Catholicism should be. Hindu, atheist, blue-haired Anglican woman bishop, tell me, what do you think about Catholicism? She says, well, I think you need to ordain women like me. Beautiful. Holy Spirit's moving. Holy Spirit's moving. We're listening. We're listening to the church. Lutheran man from Germany. We love Germans, by the way. Lutheran man. What could the Catholic Church do better? Well, I think that the Mariology is a little too extreme since Pope Pius XII, and I think you should dial that down more. Emphasis on Jesus, less emphasis on the Virgin Mary. And then I also think that the way y'all promote the Virgin Mary as ever virgin creates prejudice against women globally, which leads to violence. My Lutheran brethren, thank you for that deep reflection. We receive that. Holy Spirit is moving amongst us. In the spirit of synodality and new surprise, we receive what you have to say about denying the dogmas of the blessed Theotokos, Mother of God, Mother of Jesus Christ. Thank you for being on this journey with us. We appreciate that. Beautiful. Greek Orthodox, thank you for being part of our synodality. Tell us, what can we do as Catholics to reunite, breathe with two lungs? We're here, we're listening, we're doing synodality. And the Greek Orthodox says, well, you need to have married priests like me. No more filioque. Very evil, very evil. You must deny original sin. Very evil. And you must deny Vatican I. And all the cardinals look at each other. German cardinals are like, based. German cardinals like that. German. Thank you, my Greek Orthodox friend. We love Eastern spirituality. We want you to know that. In our spirit of synodality, we love Eastern spirituality. We love that you have an iconostasis. We love that you celebrate divine liturgy ad orientem with your back to the people. And we love that you celebrate in ancient Greek. We just don't want that for us, right? But we respect the fact that you're doing it. You're doing the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom. We respect you for doing that. And we are glad that you're here, part of our synodality, synod of synodality. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We're going to take one more comment from the table here. We're all people of God. We're all people of goodwill. Every religion is good according to the synod of synodality. It's all good. I'm okay. You're okay. We have our last speaker input. It's our Jewish friend. Rabbi, what can the Catholic Church do to be better? And the Jew says, you have to completely rewrite Good Friday. Very, very anti-Semitic. Must be done away with. And to be quite honest, the Gospel of St. John needs to be completely omitted from the New Testament. We would also like a footnote placed on every messianic prophecy, the 600 or so prophecies of Jesus in the Old Testament. We would like footnotes on everyone saying this does not refer to Jesus Christ as Messiah. And the panel, Synod of Synodality, like, thank you for that. You know, we are both monotheists, and we both revere Abraham. We are Abrahamic together. You are the chosen people. You're a chosen person. We're not. You are. Very beautiful. And we'll take that to heart. Did anyone write that down? The German guys are like, we wrote that down. All right. Thank you very much. See, synodality is a filtered synodality. That's what Diane Montagna shows us today. There can be a consensus. The bishops can speak. They can be overwhelmingly positive. It can be submitted to the Pope. And he's going to say, in the name of consultation and synodality, I have to intervene. And then he picks up his pen and he writes a motu proprio, and boom, shakalaka, you lose your local traditional Latin Mass. Whether it's in Detroit or Charlotte or Tyler, wherever. Because the synodality is more synodal in certain respects and for certain bishops and for certain geographic regions. They want you to think this is a democratic process. Everyone's equal at the table. But like the communists say, everyone's equal, but some people are more equal. I have no doubt about it. James Martin the Jesuit has a louder voice, or had a louder voice with Pope Francis than did Cardinal Zen of Hong Kong. That's crazy. That's crazy. Am I taking crazy pills here? And so really the next question, I'm going to open up comments and questions. We'll do live chat. We'll do super chat. Is how does Pope Leo XIV jump this hurdle? Does he need to address it? Does he let it die? Because unfortunately, Pope Francis created the liturgy wars. Things were pretty copacetic. Things were pretty cool. If you were a trad from 2000, mid 2000s up until 21? We were growing. There were new people. We got new priests. More and more parishes were offering the traditional Latin Mass. COVID happened, and then there was an explosion of traditional Latin Mass, and I really think that was a key issue. People say, oh, Pope Francis was watching Taylor Marshall videos and he got ticked off. I doubt that. I do know that Pope Francis did see some of my videos, but I don't think it's pretty small. It's pretty grinchy. It's pretty petty to watch a YouTube video and cancel traditional Latin Mass, restrict it. I don't think that happened. I think what happened is COVID happened. The trad churches, by and large, stayed open. They were saying Mass every day. They were leaving the back door open. Lay people were coming in, and people who had not been to the traditional Latin Mass since they were children, and people who had never been to the traditional Latin Mass showed up, and they're like, this is beautiful. Even if it was a traditional Latin Mass in a barn or a cafeteria or in someone's house, they're like, this is what I've always been looking for. And the traditional Latin Mass exploded. In some places, it grew sixfold in 2 years in the wake of the pandemic crisis. And I think Pope Francis and I think certain synodal bishops saw this and they're like, we have to intervene. And it wasn't the majority of the bishops, because we've seen what the majority of bishops said. It was the cardinals and the bishops who were just as equal as all the other bishops, but they were also a little bit more equal when it came to Pope Francis. So I don't doubt when Pope Francis said, bishops told me, and so I had to intervene. It's just that he wasn't being synodal as he promised. And also when he appeals to the report, we now have the report and we realize he went exact opposite, right? Back to poker. He's at the end of the game and everybody thinks, man, he's got like a straight over there. He's got 4 aces. And then you put the cards down and it's a bluff. There's nothing there. That's what this is. Diane Montagna called the bluff and it's a bluff. Nothing. Absolutely disappointing. All right, we're going to go to comments and questions. Second sponsor today, realestateforlife.org. If you want to move to a great place like Texas, unless you're like liberal and Democrat, this ad is not for you. If you want to move and have a great Catholic school and a traditional community and a Latin Mass and a red state and all the great things that you want in life, you want to move, you need a real estate agent. You need a real estate agent that understands your family and what you want to do and help you sell your house or buy a house in these communities. And the only people I know that can set you up properly is realestateforlife.org. And that's why I promote realestateforlife.org. They've helped dozens and dozens and dozens of people in my audience move, not only in America, but Canada, Mexico, even all over the world. They have people in all countries, not all countries, a lot of countries. So if you want to move, if you want to sell your house, if you want to buy your house, a new house somewhere else, I would first, before you just get a random real estate agent in some city you don't know, I would reach out to realestateforlife.org. Realestateforlife.org can help connect you with a real estate agent that shares your values. So go to realestateforlife.org and then let them know you heard about realestateforlife.org from the Dr. Taylor Marshall Show, the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast. That also helps support the podcast. So realestateforlife.org. All right, your comments, your questions, your super chats. Real quick, before we get started, if you're enjoying today's show, please do me the favor. Hit the thumbs up. It's like leaving a tip, except it costs you no money. I'd say, I'm going to give you a tip for free, and that's just hit the thumbs up. All right, so there's 2,000 people watching, only 284 thumbs up. So that's like, barely 10% of you even just said, I'm going to reach over my mouse and slide it over to the thumbs up and then click like. All right, so please, if you're enjoying the show, just hit the like button. It lets me know that you like it. Also helps it in the algorithm in YouTube. And then if you want to go even further, hit the share button and share this video on X and share this video on your Facebook page. So you can hit the little share button underneath me, hit share there, and then you're my algorithm. You help new people see the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast. And that's why this podcast grows like the way it does. You are my algorithm. You are sharing it constantly. You're emailing it. You're texting it. You're putting it on X, also known as Twitter. You're putting it on Facebook. New people come. It grows. It thrives. So if you're one of those people that hit like every time and share, I thank you. And of course, if you want to go to level 3, you can subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. You'll be notified every time I go live or put out a special video. So please like and share. Let's get into our super chats. Heart Ponder says, now that all this has come to light, do you see any positive effect for the TLM in the near future? Absolutely, yes. This is fantastic news. The controversy in Charlotte, North Carolina is well known in Rome. I spoke to a cardinal, well-known cardinal, and he brought that up. And I said, wait, are cardinals and people in Rome talking about the Charlotte, North Carolina Latin Mass debacle? And he goes, absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's a topic. I was, wow, that's cool. I know people in America are talking about it. But the fact that it's being discussed by non-American cardinals in Rome shows that it's an important topic. And now that we're seeing what appears to be deceit on the part of Pope Francis, that we have the actual report that's glowingly positive, and then he said it was negative and he had to cancel it. I mean, this just throws a monkey wrench in the entire Traditionis Custodes project. It also throws a wrench into the whole synodal project. And I think, personally, of course, Pope Leo knows about it. He is American. He's very plugged in, I think, to English-speaking and Spanish-speaking media, journalism, news, even podcast. He was active on X, Twitter. He knows about it. And I think this is just one of those things where it's like, I wanted to get to this. I have a lot of things going on. I've got my top 5 list. I don't know where liturgy is on his list, but I was going to get to this. But man, they just keep escalating the issue. I'm going to have to intervene. I'm going to have to say something. I'm going to have to write something. I'm going to have to do a motu proprio. I'm going to have to do a conference. I'm going to do something, right? Because this is spinning out of control. So I think it will have a positive effect. Look, let's just take a step back here. A report, an official report from the Congregation for the Doct Faith that states the consultation with the bishops concerning the application of Summorum Pontificum, it has been unearthed, it has been made public, and it's glowingly positive. People are now talking about like, wait a second, the bishops kind of think it's cool. The bishops are like, Summorum Pontificum, legit. Not only am I okay with it, I'm not belligerent toward it. Not only am I okay with it, I'm mildly positive about Summorum Pontificum in the traditional Latin Mass. That's the majority of bishops. That right there is a commercial for the importance of the liturgical heritage and patrimony of the Roman Rite. The traditional Latin Mass is not a piece of furniture that wore out, was threadbare and broken down and had to be put out on the curb and hoping that the trash guy is going to pick it up. When you put some big trash on your curb, you're like, man, I hope the trash guy throws that away. Because sometimes they're doing like, oh, I'm so relieved. And sometimes they don't throw the big trash away, like the old washing machine or the busted up couch that your kids have been sitting on for 10 years. We've had a few of those. Those couches, they're torn up. Kid couch. Advice to young parents: don't buy nice couches if you have kids. If you have multiple kids, 4 or more kids under 10, do not buy nice couches. They're going to wreck it. Trash. And one day you're going to put it on the curb and you're going to hope that the trash man comes and picks it up. What was I even talking about? Trash on the curb. Oh, yeah. The Latin Mass is not a busted up piece of sofa furniture that you're like, well, it was a good couch, but it's old. We'll just put out on the curb and get a new one. Now, the traditional Latin Mass, the Roman Rite, the Roman liturgy, the old Holy Week, that is in the very heart and bosom of the church. It's not busted up and old. It is polished with time. It is compressed like a diamond in coal. It is like fine French wine that's over 15 years old. In this case, over 1,500 years old. Let's just keep rolling the analogies. It's a beautiful thing. And that's what Pope Benedict XVI said. He said it's never been abrogated. A lot of people are like, whoa, I thought Paul VI abrogated the TLM. Benedict says, no, you can't abrogate the TLM. And traditionalists have been saying, it's one of my favorite things, Mel Gibson, love him or not, just watched Patriot again the other night. Banger. The Patriot, Mel Gibson. Why don't they make movies like that anymore? Such an epic film. The end where he fights his nemesis, carries the flag, fights a nemesis. At the end, what happened? We're back. I don't know what happened. Mel Gibson's fighting his nemesis, and he comes back. His black friend, he used to be a friend, they're like already rebuilding his house. It's like, it's a new America. So good. But, Mel Gibson says, quo primum, Pope Pius V. It's perpetual. Tridentine Mass is perpetual. In perpetuity is what it says. So, hard to ponder. I think it's awesome. I think we are good to go. Heading back into super chats. Oh, no. Did that blip erase super chats? There were a few here, and now there's only 2. Oh, no. I am so sorry. Maybe there's another way for me to hit the super chat, so I can maybe do it on my phone. I don't have my phone. Well, dress. Dan or Joey, if you're moderating and you have access to those older super chats, I think in that blip right there, it cleared them. Another super chat from Rodrigo. In 2021, Cardinal Ladari, prefect of the CDF, said that homosexual couples couldn't be blessed. In 2023, the new Cardinal prefect, Kissy Fernandez, said they could. Why did Pope Francis only listen to the latter? Rodrigo, I just told you why. And that's because in synodality, everyone's equal, but some people are more equal than others. Again, because the Germans excel in Catholicism, Pope Francis was going to listen to Germans. Listen to the best. Are you going to go get basketball lessons from Michael Jordan? Yes, you are. So Germans are clearly Michael Jordans of Catholicism since the 1970s. So clearly you're going to ask the Germans. Or the liberal South Americans. They're probably number 2. You got the Germans. They're just amazing Catholics. Just everything that we esteem to be. And then you got kind of liberal, washed up liberation theology dudes who wear turtlenecks, turtleneck and chain. Thank you, Rodrigo. Brendan Wolf. What's up, Brendan? My family is looking to move to Texas to start a homestead. Do you have any recommendations on areas to look at? Well, okay, first off, we're gonna want to reach out to Real Estate for Life. Okay. If you want a homestead, it depends on what kind of homesteading you want to do. Some people are in the more agrarian. You want to do crops. If that's the case, don't move to West Texas. It's dry in West Texas. All right. The land is cheaper in West Texas. That's because the land is dry. Some people want a homestead and they just want to milk a cow, raise pigs for bacon and meat, and have chickens. In that case, you can pretty much do that almost everywhere. But if you want to raise livestock, like sheep or cows, ruminants, things like that, you need grass or things get real out of hand. They get real expensive. So in that case, East Texas. Maybe North Texas is good too, towards Oklahoma. Oklahoma also has beautiful land, and Oklahoma is a little bit cheaper. So I would look into Oklahoma as well, especially if you want to get more land or save money. Oklahoma is a great place. You got tornadoes though. We got tornadoes in Texas, but they're a little bit worse, I think, in Oklahoma. So yeah, I think what you're doing is awesome. I think it's fruitful. I'm going to check in and see if any super chats were lost. Checking in with Joe. Oh, here we go. Joey in the house. Dan in the house. Okay. Daniel sent me super chats, and it looks like all the ones that he sent me, I have covered. So I thought there were more super chats. Maybe I was looking at the wrong window, but it looks like they are preserved, and it looks like I covered them all. So I appreciate it. Suzanne, look at your comments. You have an audio problem. Everything looks good on my side. What's my audio problem? Dan and Joey, what is my audio problem? I'm looking at all the levels, and they look good. Is it crunchy? Is it breaking up? Is it low? It's usually the audio problems. Maybe they're not. All right, here's a comment from Clax Ornamental. I don't know. So what if he lied? He's the Pope. He can do whatever he wants. No, the Pope is a disciple of Jesus Christ. He's baptized. He's held to the same moral standards that we're all held to. So we don't believe. Joey says it's glitchy. We got a bad connection. The connection did go out on us. I'm looking at the Wi-Fi. It's full bars. Might be a YouTube problem. Interesting. Let me just, I'm just going to dial back the audio on the board a little bit, and then let's see if that helps. You're all going to see that I'm wearing white pants. All right. I dialed back the audio. Maybe it was clipping. Who knows? I think, darn. Yeah, people. I think we have a bad connection with YouTube because it did pop out and then it popped back in. So if that's the case, I don't want to draw things on if there's bad audio. So we'll end it there. All right. So check out the traditional Latin Mass. Go 4 times. Pray your rosary every day. Go to confession. If you have mortal sin, go to confession. Immediately you have a gunshot wound. You need to get that taken care of. Mortal sin is a gunshot wound unto death. But go to confession at least monthly. Go to confession at least monthly. Read traditional Catholic books. Read traditional catechisms. If you want to get into the rosary, you don't know how, go to my website, taylormarshall.com. Download this book for free. If you'd like a signed copy, go over to patreon.com. I'll send you a rosary, signed copy, other signed books. If you just want some signed stuff from me, this is where you go, patreon.com/Dr. Taylor Marshall. And there you can support me on Patreon. You can do a one-time, you can do a monthly. I appreciate it. Helps me do what I do. All right, thanks for watching. I'll be following the news. Subscribe to the Substack of Diane Montagna. And until next time, I didn't mention my book. If you have not pre-ordered my upcoming book, Christian Patriot, please do it at christianpatriotbook.com. That's christianpatriotbook.com. Also, 2 days ago, I was on the PBD podcast. Patrick Bet-David, absolute fire. It was a fantastic interview. I hope nothing from it is edited. We talked about contraception. We talked about LGBT. We talked about birth rates. We talked about Catholicism. I mentioned the Eucharist. We talked about feminism. We talked about Catholicism in the world. We talked about Pope Francis. We talked about Pope Leo. Patrick Bet-David, we went everywhere. When we were done the interview, it was like, man, I can't believe we went all the places we went. So if you like PBD, if you listen to PBD, I think you're going to really enjoy the interview that he and I did together. I don't know when that comes out. I'm assuming next week. I don't know their schedule, but check that out as well. All right, remember, our Lord Jesus Christ is the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So go out there and be salty. God bless. Sorry we're having problems here with the audio. I think it's a YouTube issue because everything's clean on my side and we did lose power. But anyway, thanks for your patience and we'll see you soon.